Dear Ronald, dear Chela, dear David, leaders of Jewish communities and organizations, distinguished guests, dear friends, I regret not being with you today and wish you successful deliberations. If I have to summarize in one sentence the situation concerning Jewish life in 2018, I would say that there is an increasing sense of emergency among Jews in many countries around the world. In Europe, antisemitism has recently progressed to the point of calling into question the very continuation of Jewish life. According to a recent report by the EU Fundamental Rights Agency, 38% of European Jews said they have considered emigrating from Europe because they do not feel safe. In Western European countries, the situation is the worst. In Germany, there was a 70% increase in violent antisemitism. In France, there was a 74% rise in all manifestations of antisemitism. And in Italy, it was 60%. The number of the most severe and violent incidents monitored worldwide by the Kantor Center for the study of contemporary Jewry was close to 400, representing a 13% increase from the last year. In 2018, we witnessed the largest number of Jews murdered in a single year since decades. I was deeply saddened by the recent attack in Poway, California, on the last day of Pesach, which took the life of a Jewish woman, mother and wife, and wounded 3 people, including a rabbi. Attacks such as these are changing the face of Jewish life in the US, just as we have faced in Europe for some time now. Across the world, antisemitism has entered gradually into the public discourse. Threats, harassments, and insults have become more violent, inciting to even more physical violence against Jews. In recent weeks, the New York Times, an established media giant, published an outrageous anti-Semitic cartoon. The day after, it published a half-hearted apology, and the day after it published another anti-Semitic cartoon. What does this mean? It feels like almost every taboo relating to Jews, Judaism, and Jewish life has been broken. More than that, antisemitism is no longer only the threat to the Jewish community. It has become a symptom of global civil conflicts which are about to happen. Since extremists are already in possession of weapons of mass destruction, they can use them. Nuclear conflict can never be local. It will evolve into a global catastrophe, even a new world war. Therefore, the fight against antisemitism is crucial. The importance of this fight as a uniting force of efforts of heads of state around the world cannot be underestimated. Extremists already tested society's reactions with impunity through violent antisemitism. This encouraged them to take the next step. Antisemitism is no longer limited to far left, far right, and radical Islamist triangle. It has become mainstream and often accepted by civil society. In some countries, like in the UK, antisemitism has reached institutional levels in the main opposition party, the Labour Party. It needs to be said clearly that there is as much danger in the antisemitism of the far left as there is from the far right. With political center becoming more fragile and even disappearing like in Italy, these extremist movements and groups seek to gain political power by attacking the foundations of democratic societies. 2018 was also a year of unprecedented achievements at the political level in Europe, on European Jewish street. The IRO working definition of antisemitism was adopted in full by governments, organizations, and political parties, including France, the UK, Germany, Austria, Romania, Czech Republic, Bulgaria, and others, as well as the European Parliament and local agencies and councils. Additionally, in November, we introduced the most comprehensive catalogue of concrete policies and legislation to fight antisemitism. These policies were presented at a high-level conference organized by Chancellor Sebastian Kurz, together with the European Jewish Congress, in the scope of the Austrian presidency of the European Council. This conference resulted in a historic declaration of the EU Council calling on member states to develop a holistic strategy to fight antisemitism, adopt the working definition of antisemitism, and secure the Jewish communities by allocating appropriate budgets. I am also pleased to update that there is now a stronger collaboration between law enforcement authorities and the Jewish communities in Europe, with the help of SAC, the EJC Security and Crisis Center, which played a major role in this positive development. SAC's collaboration with Europol and CEPOL and other European security agencies improved dramatically. Today, finally, the EU and national leaders recognize the danger of antisemitism and are willing to fight it. It is important to acknowledge that fact. But it is still not enough, as demonstrated by the rise of antisemitism in almost all democratic countries. So, very shortly to conclude. Number one, the triangle of extremists, especially Islamists, definitely possesses a dirty mass destruction weapon, and we should understand that such things as limited nuclear war is far from being realistic. National security will be powerless in the face of nuclear terror. Second, central political spectrum cannot satisfy at all the over-frightened, liberal, and moderate electorate any longer. Extremists have a strong chance to come to power in a democratic way. And then a chain reaction between extreme regimes will be more than possible. Third, practically in all democratic societies, the triangle of extremists has passed the last test with impunity and moved to the most severe actions against Jews. However, final goal is not Jews anymore, but national, executive power in every country. The fourth and the last thing. World leaders and nations should understand this common threat and finally start fighting against anti-Semitism at all levels, because it is not a struggle for Jews anymore, but for their own survival. Please, dear colleagues, do your best to promote this idea, if you agree. Thank you for your understanding.